Let's dive in to Knicks Cavs. So
it.
the Knicks defeated the Cavs 102-93 today. The Knicks are now up 3-1 in this series. And I'll start here. What do you think is the most overarching thing that is occurring within this Cavs Knicks series?
So there's a lot, both schematically, tactically, and just play wise. I tend to think that the course of a best of 7 series, schematics and tactics matter, but the players are the ones who are executing on the court. So I kind of want to start with just how guys have been playing in this series. More specifically, I think the battle down low between the Knicks and Cavs has been one that might be a little bit more one-sided than anybody foresaw coming into the series.
I don't disagree with that. I have seen a lot of discussion about how Jared Allen has been beasted by Mitchell Robinson. And I sort of agree to an extent there. I have seen a lot of discussion about how, Julius Randle has just like kind of bullied over Evan Mobley. I don't really agree with that. I think Evan Mobley's done a really good job on Julius Randle in the series. Julius, it seems, is not 100%. To me, it's not the interior. It is actually the perimeter that is causing the biggest issues for Cleveland, in my opinion. And it is generally a result of not being able to find the matchups that the Knicks are capable of finding. And there are a few things that I kind of want to dive into in terms of the tape. But to me, it's that Jalen Brunson has been the best guard on the court in this series thus far. I see that Blood of DePanta has said here that Knicks fans have thought Mr. Robinson was the best center in the series this entire time. He has been literally the entire series. He's been the best center in the series, including him and Jared Allen. I think Evan Mobley has done a pretty good job defensively, but he's clearly still figuring out what he has to do offensively in order to make a high level impact. Also, I think this Cavs roster, as we'll talk about momentarily, is quite flawed in ways that hinder Mobley and his ability to potentially play in space, because it's hard for him to play in space against this Knicks team. The biggest mismatch for me right now, though, is the coaching mismatch. And Tom Thibodeau is a great coach. I have not seen much from JB Bickerstaff in this series that makes me buy into what he is doing schematically, at the very least. There's way more to being a coach than the X's and O's. I'm sure JB Bickerstaff brings a lot to the table that certainly go beyond the X's and O's. I think that he has gotten severely outcoached in this series. And part of why I think that is not his fault. This is a very flawed roster. This is a roster that features no wings, really. And this is something the team is going to have to fix in the offseason using the limited assets that it has at its disposal because of the Donovan Mitchell trade. But I think they can find answers beyond what they have now. I don't like what they've done rotationally. I do not understand the total lack of desire to try Dean Wade. He is the only big / wing on the roster who could shoot. And I said this last night on the show for people that were watching and listening. I would have started Dean Wade in this game and brought Karras off of the bench, because the big thing that you see anytime the guys like Cedi Osman, Isaac Okoro, etc. are on the court is that Jalen Brunson immediately goes to them, right? Or if it's a big guarding one of them, they immediately just sink all the way into the paint. And it makes it very easy to do that. Merrick Barnett brings up, is Dean Wade hurt? My impression is that he's not hurt, because he came in for 4 minutes in game 3. And I've kind of asked around, and I think that he's capable of playing right now from everything that I've been told. But he came in game 3 for 4 minutes. There's no if you're going to do that, I don't understand why that would be the case. So there's that aspect of it. And then there's the defensive aspect of what's happening. And I kind of want to dive into that a little bit here. It's very clear that what the Knicks or what the Cavs are doing is they're having Jared Allen sink off of Mitchell Robinson every single time and essentially like overhelp and overshade to the side of the court where the ball is, especially when Jalen Brunson has the ball. So let's kind of jump in here and dive into some of the clips that I pulled. So you're going to see here, Jalen Brunson has the ball at the top of the key. He's going to bring it over to the right side of the court offensively, left side of the court defensively. Look at how far off of Mitchell Robinson Jarrett Allen pulls already in the paint. So he is like already way outside of the paint, even though Mitchell Robinson is essentially on the other side of the paint. This is something the Cavs have done pretty substantially throughout this series. And my thing with this clip that we're going to watch, and I'll play it in full here, I just don't think Jared Allen's making an impact here. And frankly, he didn't do anything here at the end of the day and didn't make an impact. And I thought that he left open a wide open, just little shovel pass if Jalen Brunson wanted to hit it. So we're going to come over, screen by Josh Allen or Josh Hart, goodness. And then Jared Allen's going to come over and he just doesn't do anything. Mitchell Robinson gets the easiest offensive rebound on planet Earth because Jared Allen is overhelping. He's going too far over, I think, within the scheme. If you're going to overhelp, you can't overhelp that far toward that side of the court when your man is literally on the opposite side. It's just not something that's going to work for you long term. So here again, Knicks have the ball, RJ Barrett, kick out. Then they're going to get it back to Jalen Brunson. Brunson spins. And then you see, just look at where Jared Allen is. He's coming all the way out essentially there. Mitchell Robinson gets the offensive rebound. Look at where Jared Allen is here after Darius Garland falls. He thinks that he needs, after Garland falls, to like significantly step up and help.
Yeah.
I just don't think that is it. I think that that corner man should be sinking in more than Jared Allen should be stepping up because again, Jalen Brunson's probably going to step up and shoot. Mitchell Robinson gets another offensive rebound there. So here, Jalen Brunson, they run a little handoff series here. Josh Hart. Let's see, where am I looking here with Jared Allen? Oh, I know what happens here. This is like the give and go play. So basically, he shades too far over on the first handoff, if you notice here, Jared Allen, to where he's shading way too far over the side that Jalen Brunson is on the court. And then when Josh Hart gives the ball back to Isaiah Hartenstein, he has to push way far over and aggressively end up with his weight on his right foot because he needs to play that, because the way that they're playing is they're shading way far over to Brunson, which means that when the ball goes away from Brunson, he is out of position and needs to get back into the play. He goes way over onto his right foot. And then you see Isaiah Hartenstein, really smart center, really good at seeing the court, making those high level passing reads. This is an easy give and go for Josh Hart, where Jared Allen is just out of position here. He's not in any sort of guarding position that is going to be effective. Josh Hart gets a wide open lane to the basket. Okay, and then these two, I believe, are going to be very good examples of Jalen Brunson really intelligently processing that Jared Allen is overhelping in the second quarter here. So what you're going to see is Brunson comes over, switch on to Donovan Mitchell. Look at where, again, Jared Allen is. He is way over on this side of the court. He is so far over. They have the helper situation coming down with, I believe that's Danny Green, who's trying to box out Mitchell Robinson. And then you have Obi Toppin wide open in the corner. Again, though, I just think like Jared Allen is actually just not even in good guarding position here, frankly. Like, why are both of his feet outside of the paint in this circumstance? There's not really a reason for that, right?
Yeah, he came out really aggressively and far here. And look, anytime you're going to send help away from the block, you always say that the terminology is trap the box or trap the block. And anytime you come
Yeah,
far above that, what you open up is those dump down passes to a big who's in the dunker spot. It's called helping uphill, and it's something that you generally teach big men or help defenders at the basket not to do. And what
correct.
happens when Jared Allen goes so far away from the block and helps uphill is it forces the next low man, the helper guy, to smother on Mitchell Robinson or whoever's going to be in that dunker spot. And time again, where the Knicks were great today is by just having two really small adjustments. And one of them was shown in this last clip here. If you want to rewind it just a little bit, Sam, you'll see
Yeah,
that Mitchell Robinson is standing here and he sets this kind of crackback screen, this almost flare in to pin Danny Green in so that
yep,
the corner three is wide open on a skip out. So Jalen Brunson, when he engages, he doesn't have to get all the way down to Jarrett Allen. He can throw a proactive skip pass because this was wide open. And Obi Toppin had one in the second half. I think Hartenstein set 2 or 3 of these that were really effective the entire day. The other
yep,
thing that Robinson did in that spot is what's called flipping the post. He essentially rotated from where he was on this opposite block towards the ball side block. And what that does is it puts the smother guy, in this case, Danny Green, in a horrible position. So if Mitchell
yep,
Robinson were to go from the left offensive block to the right, Danny Green either has to follow him to prevent the dunk. And now it's so much farther for a rotation to the corner or a scramble and an X out of there, or he stays home
yep.
and they end up getting that same corner three that they had by design. So really simple adjustments by Thibodeau with how Robinson and Hartenstein really were able to capitalize on that down on the block. I agree with you. I think it was a little bit foolish to be as aggressive with Jarrett Allen as they were, particularly because Jalen Brunson isn't this quick first step guy who's always going to just zoom past his man at the point of
Right.
attack. He is much more of a methodical, physical, bully you down driver. And you typically don't send early help to guys like that to discourage them getting to their spots. It's not interrupting anything.
It's 100% right. And then here, what you're going to see is literally the next play. Jalen Brunson just reads this like a book here. He reads the overhelp from Jarrett, again, shading way off of Mitchell Robinson. He puts Darius Garland in a terrible position where he has to help the helper again. And this is just the easiest lob in the world to Mitchell Robinson when it's Darius Garland who is in that position. He just immediately recognizes and reads that this is just going to be an easy lob because Jarrett Allen is way over helping. And this is not, to me, this is not Jarrett Allen's fault. Some of the positioning technique is Jarrett Allen's fault, but this is a scheme-based decision by Jarrett Allen. This is, and by JB Bickerstaff and that staff, and they're putting Jarrett Allen in bad positions, in my opinion. Mitchell Robinson's outplaying him. I don't mean to say that, I don't mean to make excuses for Jarrett Allen. Mitchell Robinson's been way better. It's more that they are putting Jarrett Allen in really bad positions, I think, in this series, and it's making it very hard for the Cavs to defend.
And I thought the best position that they put Allen in was in game 2 when the Cavaliers had the most success defensively by when he was guarding Mitchell Robinson, going out and trapping and blitzing Jalen Brunson on the perimeter and trying to make Mitchell Robinson a short roll creator, a facilitator at the top of the key. And I think that's where he really struggles. His lack of skill comes into play. I don't think it's an accident that the Cavaliers ended up winning the game that they did that in. But we've also seen Tom Thibodeau, who's a really smart tactical coach, make some adjustments. Later in the second half of that game, they started diving Mitchell Robinson to the front of the rim and then flashing Julius Randle to the top of the key so that he would be a little bit more of a shooting threat, a perimeter playmaker if he was in that position. So I think Tibbs is going to be able to stay one step ahead, particularly having already seen the blitzing scheme from Cleveland. But whatever it was that they tried today, this 2013 Bucks defense under Jason Kidd, overload the front block box early thing. I don't think it works when you're particularly as small as they are on the backside, because that's where Garland and Mitchell and even Chetty Osman, all these guys who aren't elite guards or athletes for their position, it really hurts them.
So the next thing I want to bring up here, it comes with the Cavs on offense. And all of that came with the Knicks on offense. I think that the Cavs are doing just not good enough job there. The next thing is more of a roster-based issue for Cleveland that has turned into something of a coaching issue, as I'll explain moving forward. But this is a roster-based issue at the end of the day, right? Like, I've seen a lot of Cavs fans wonder why Isaac Okoro is not playing more. And the problem with Isaac Okoro is that I'm intrigued by Okoro if you can play him with shooters. The problem is the Cavs don't play him with shooters. They play him often with two non-shooters on the court, or like two reluctant shooters, let's say, because I don't even know that like Chetty is a full-scale shooter that I trust at the end of the day. So here what we're going to see is this is going to be Donovan Mitchell just trying to get downhill in transition, right? And Deuce McBride is just like, I do not care that Isaac Okoro is over in that corner in that same side. I am just going to step in and I'm going to take this charge from Donovan Mitchell. It's super easy here. Watch it again. Just going to take the charge. Doesn't matter that Isaac Okoro is in the corner. They do not care. Isaac Okoro went 1 for 5 from 3 in this game. We'll talk about like a counter that Okoro had that I thought was pretty smart, but it's just not good enough from Cleveland from a roster perspective because they have so many non-shooters on the court. Here's another prime example of this. It's just way too easy for Obi Toppin to already have 2 feet in the paint when Isaac Okoro is in that corner over there. So look, he is in the middle of the paint now when the ball is on the opposite side of the court. They do not care that this skip pass is coming. Genuinely, they are not worried about Isaac Okoro shooting at all. That is a win for the New York Knicks if Isaac Okoro takes that shot. Now, here comes one where Okoro makes a smart little cut here. So ball goes across. Instead of staying in the corner when the ball's in the opposite corner, Okoro gets 2 feet in the lane, stands by that fast 10 sign, and he's already downhill, ready to get to the paint. The problem here is that even this like shouldn't really be all that effective because if you look, RJ Barrett is just like very out of position here. Like RJ just needs to like get in front of him and actually shut down that driving angle. And he has time to do that. He just kind of plays him, way too high up on his body and gives a wide open driving lane to Okoro. Again, though, here's another example of this from the second half or from the second quarter. I'm sorry. Again, Julius Randle, 2 feet in the paint on a drive, ready to be the help man when Isaac Okoro is standing in the corner. They do not care that Okoro is going to take this shot. He misses it. Again, Isaac Okoro goes 1 for 5 from 3 in this game. This is why I think Dean Wade would be valuable for them. Like, I get that Dean Wade is not as good defensively as Isaac Okoro is, but I think that having that shooter there is really important. And I will explain why it's important now, because the part of the game where the Cavs had the most success offensively was when they attacked Jalen Brunson repeatedly with Darius Garland in the third quarter. Darius Garland, in the first 7 minutes of the third quarter, had 22 points that he was directly responsible for, either via his own bucket or via assist. And we're going to dive into why that happens here. So this is absolutely tremendous stuff from Darius Garland. And this is why it's like kind of maddening to me from a coaching perspective if you are the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Knicks are making it easy on the Cavs to get Darius Garland the ball. Darius Garland had 4 points and 3 assists in the first quarter because it felt like they were running everything through Donovan Mitchell. Jalen Brunson started the game on Darius Garland. Jalen Brunson is the guy that you want to attack if you are the Cleveland Cavaliers. This isn't to say that Jalen Brunson is like some train wreck defender or anything, but it's a real mismatch for the Cavs due to Darius Garland's speed and his ability to get downhill out of ball screens and shooting out of ball screens.
And the residual effect of attacking Brunson is that you may wear him down offensively, where he's not going to be able to handle such high volume in terms of his creation throughout, particularly the fourth quarter. So it's a very common strategy to just go at the high volume offensive guys because you wear them out that way too.
That is exactly right. So let's dive in here. This is the first set that they ran in the second half, right? Really smart, really aggressive to come out in the second half like this. You're going to see here, screen, Darius Garland, mid-range jumper. That's just really hard for Jalen Brunson to really do anything with at the end of the day. Again, same thing here. We're going to see, I believe, Garland come up from the corner again. He's going to take this dribble handoff. He's just making Jalen Brunson go through the ringer here in terms of screening actions, and eventually he hits the little wraparound pass to Jared Allen for the easy bucket.
And it's the combination of it being Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. I think that the Knicks probably have a better chance of guarding this if Mitchell Robinson is engaged in a lot of these actions. But they try to go with Mobley setting the screens or being the handoff guy because it involves Randle, who I think we all know the reputation at this point when the shot isn't falling. Is he going to continue to stay engaged on the defensive end? And probably not his best offensive performance tonight. Pretty smart to go at him.
Yeah, so I think you're 100% right there. And I think, again, this was the smart adjustment from Cleveland, right? Like this is something their coaching staff did well here. So again, Darius Garland, we're just going to get a high ball screen here, right, from Jared Allen. And again, this is Mitchell Robinson. Darius Garland finds that little pocket pass angle. Jalen Brunson is a very square athlete as a player. He is somebody that does not have the most flexible hips. He does struggle to get through screens a little bit more often than what people think. So again, this is just an easy dunk. Jared Allen gets all the way to the rim. Darius Garland again comes up, ball screen, very easy little floater because again, Jalen Brunson can't get through that action. And Mitchell Robinson is forced to guard two at once. He has to play in that gap, which means when you have Darius Garland's touch level and his confidence from the mid-range, that's a very easy shot. So again here, high ball screen, just gets that little sidestep mid-range shot because eventually Mitchell Robinson has to recover back to his man. And again, Jalen Brunson struggles to get through that screen, right? This is not me trying to crush Jalen Brunson necessarily. Jalen Brunson, as we just talked about previously, has been immaculate in this series offensively, and he is the reason that the Knicks are winning this series. But these are the kind of things that the Cavs are not attacking repeatedly, which is just absolutely bizarre to me. And the reason, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Finish your thought here.
Well, it's just crazy to me. The Knicks are making it easy on them. They are having Jalen Brunson just straight up guard him. This is not a circumstance where like, okay, the Knicks are pre-switching and they're making it hard to find the matchup for Jalen Brunson. They're making it difficult on JB Bickerstaff. They're making it easy and they're just not taking advantage of it. So here, what you're going to see is a kick out, which I believe is eventually like Darius Garland's like, for the love of God, give me the ball, please. He just eventually blows by Jalen Brunson there, eventually gets the foul. He's starting to feel himself, starting to scream a little bit. And then here again, just doesn't get through the screen well, forces the help from the corner there from Julius, or no, what happens here? Oh, this is the one where RJ Barrett actually does like a pretty good job recognizing early on that this is going to be an empty side ball screen here. And with the way that the Knicks are defending, they actually want him to come over and try to be that help man that's tagging Jared Allen because they're happy with Karis LeVert shooting. So here, the problem with all of this is that Jalen Brunson has to get through the screening action at a much higher level at the end of the day. The reason you have RJ Barrett all the way sunk in there, even though he is ostensibly Karis LeVert's man, is that, as you can see, there's just a wide open pocket pass here for Jared Allen if it's available. And if RJ isn't all the way sunk in already, that is a real problem for the Knicks. So again, pump fake here, kick out to LeVert. This is a shot that the Knicks, I feel like, are relatively okay with. I think they would like Julius Randle in all likelihood to make a more concerted effort to get out and contest that three-pointer. But again, as we talked about earlier with Mitchell Robinson previously, making sure to flip his body in order to get that screening action on Randall. I thought that Evan Mobley did a reasonable job there of getting his frame in the way. Now, this is the fourth quarter. And Darius Garland, as you can see, is now being guarded by RJ Barrett. And if I'm or no, that's Emmanuel Quickly who's on Darius Garland. They get the switch from Cedi Osman onto Jalen Brunson is guarding Cedi Osman. They actually run an action here for Cedi Osman to come up, set a screen for Darius Garland, try and force a switch here, right? They only did this twice, by the way. I pulled one of them because I wanted it to be an example. The first time, I believe, happened near the end of the third quarter. This is the second time that it happened. And again, here, Darius Garland, they try and put two on the ball, but they space it out reasonably well. Again, easy kick in to Jared Allen. Jared Allen gets the cross corner kick out. It's a missed shot, but it's a good opportunity. Like, you have to feel okay with that process if you're the Cavs, and you have to keep getting Jalen Brunson switched on to Darius Garland at the end of the day. Now, this is just like the prime example, and then I'm sorry, I'll let you go. This is the prime example of what I'm talking about here. Jalen Brunson is just in the corner on Karis LeVert. I want you to watch Karis LeVert and Jalen Brunson this entire possession. It's not going to be much. And by it's not going to be much, I mean, literally there is no movement here. There is no movement whatsoever from Karis LeVert. The team is just not utilizing him. Again, as you will see, Obi Toppin is guarding Isaac Okoro. Nobody gives a shit that Isaac Okoro is in that corner here. Obi Toppin has, feet in the lane, both feet in the lane, same side kick out. They do not care. But here, Karis LeVert finally moves. They finally get him involved in the offense on the offensive glass. Easy putback, because again, that is a mismatch for the Cavs to have Karis LeVert being guarded by Jalen Brunson. And the team is just not taking anything resembling enough advantage of those opportunities. So I believe that what happened is in those first 7 minutes of the second half, Darius Garland goes nuclear, goes for 22 points that he's responsible for via points or assists in those first 7 minutes. Isaac Okoro and Cedi Osman come in at like the 3:34 minute mark, something like that. Brunson immediately slides off of Garland and guards Cedi Osman. They only involve Brunson in that action once in the next 5 minutes. Do you know how many points the Cavs scored, Adam?
Is it a donut?
It's 2. They scored 2 points there because they're not involving Brunson in nearly enough actions. Yep. It is remarkable to me that the Cavs can't figure out, okay, we need more shooting on the court and we need to involve Jalen Brunson in this primary action more. And again, the Knicks will counter. The Knicks will try and pre-switch with Jalen Brunson. The Knicks will try and get him out of the action. But what you do there is then you make Cedi Osman bring the ball in as the inbounder off of a made basket. You have him be the trailer, and then you have him set the screen immediately, which then forces Brunson essentially to be at the top of the key as opposed to in the corner where it's much easier to pre-switch actions. So there are a number of things the Cavs can be doing here. I just really think that JB Bickerstaff and this coaching staff with the Cavs have done an absolutely exceedingly poor job of positioning the Cavs for success in this series.
I think it just shows their inexperience in playoff series. And the game is so different in the playoffs and from the regular season. You have to mismatch hunt. You have to. And it may not be on brand with how you think your number one or number two options are going to play on the offensive end of the floor. You may want to just continue to press that, hey, we're going to do what we do and get our guys the ball in the spots that they prefer button. But the best teams in the league are the ones that find ways to exploit your mismatches. And I think the New York Knicks deserve some credit for continually trying to attack Cleveland on the other end in that way. And I had a video up on my Twitter page earlier in the week about this, where they run this classic staple called a hawk action, which is a UCLA screen and then an empty side ball screen with the guy coming off the UCLA, then circling out off of a stagger on the weak side just to occupy. But the real action is that empty side ball screen, which the Knicks are using entirely to try to make a guard-to-guard action where Garland, Mitchell are involved trying to get that switch. And the Cavs came prepared on the defensive end of the floor in the series. I will say that immediately from the jump, they expected those guard-to-guard screens to come, and whoever was guarding Brunson, usually it's LeVert or it's Okoro, is going to stay with their man through it. They're not letting Mitchell or Garland switch onto Jalen Brunson in those situations. And they are aggressively hard hedging and showing with Garland and Mitchell, and then recovering to whoever that guard is, RJ Barrett, Quentin Grimes at times, Manuel Quickly sometimes, out to the empty side. And the entire purpose of this action is to force a switch for Jalen Brunson. But what the Knicks have done well is punish the Cavs for not switching. They throw it back to that empty side. They force Garland or Mitchell to close out hard. And then RJ Barrett, he had one down the stretch, and he was fantastic today on the offensive side of the floor. When they threw it back to him, he ripped baseline in the fourth quarter, went really strong and hard off 2 feet, and had an impactful finish at the basket. So it's not just mismatch hunting to create a shot for the guy who has the ball in his hands. It's the IQ and the intelligence to use Cleveland's lack of desire to switch that action against them. And that's something that the Cavs haven't necessarily done. They haven't fleshed out enough through the first 4 games of the series. How are the Knicks going to try to protect Brunson? And then how can we use that against them? And today was the first time we really saw them try to go after and go mismatch hunting. Now, the other thing about that, Sam, and I sound like a broken record in talking about this, it doesn't matter if you're playing 4-on-5 because you have somebody on the floor that's completely unguarded. And time again, Isaac Okoro has been that guy when he's standing in the corner. That even if they're going to mismatch hunt while Okoro is on the floor, whoever's guarding him is just going to clog the lane, and it allows a lot easier, cleaner rotations out there. It allows them to send help to Brunson and maybe trap to get the ball out of Garland's hands. There are so many things that they can do when Isaac Okoro is on the floor. And the last point I'll make sort of rotationally, I think Cleveland is very thin on the wings, right? They don't know who the answers are in this series. And they pulled Okoro from the starting rotation for what we've talked about. There's not enough floor spacing when you have 3 non-shooters in Allen, Mobley, and Okoro out there at the same time. But for the life of me, I can't understand why Okoro would be a candidate to play against the Knicks' second unit as he was in the second and fourth quarters, because there was not a guy for him to really guard out there that he would really shut down and be incredibly impactful in the way that you need him to be if he's going to be on the floor. They were sitting Brunson. They were sitting Barrett at the same time that Okoro was playing. I don't understand the purpose of having him out there to provide negative floor spacing on offense just to be the guy that's defending Josh Hart for 8 minutes. That doesn't kind of really insane. Do it to me. It doesn't do it for me.
It's honestly kind of insane. 2 other guys with the Knicks. You mentioned RJ Barrett earlier. RJ Barrett's been phenomenal the last 2 games. He's been downhill. He's been aggressive. He's been physical. He's been the idealized version of what I think Knicks fans hoped that they were getting outside of the 0 for 6 mark from 3 today when they selected him in the top 3 back in 2019. He has just been physical. He's been strong. He's been willing to force those smaller guards who end up mismatched onto him into more difficult physical predicaments, I think. Defensively, I think he's been pretty solid for the most part in this series. Again, though, where you can catch RJ is not on the ball. It's actually off the ball. And I feel like the Cavs have not really tried to do that often, unfortunately. The second guy is Josh Hart. I think Josh Hart has been absolutely incredible. I thought he did an absolutely top tier job today guarding Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell had like 11 points. I think he didn't score in the second half until like the 3:30 mark, right around that area. And that was in part because Josh Hart made his life exceptionally difficult, just working and getting his body on him and being physical while also being quick and just working as hard as humanly possible to make Donovan Mitchell's life just that little bit more difficult. So I think Josh Hart deserves a lot of credit. Josh Hart's a player that throughout the trade deadline, I was kind of hoping the Cavs would be able to get. Ultimately, the Knicks paid to get him, and the Knicks paid something the Cavs, frankly, did not have in a first round pick, right? Like the Cavs do not have the assets to where they can move a first round pick or a value equivalent of that for Josh Hart to the Portland Trail Blazers, but they decided to make that investment. And this is a deal that I loved at the time. I wrote about why this was like, and talked about why this is like my favorite acquisition of the trade deadline outside of like the stars being dealt, because he just embodies everything that this New York Knicks team is all about in terms of toughness, rebounding, physicality. I knew that Tom Thibodeau would love him. I knew that he'd trust him in the moments that were necessary to play. And that's been borne out in this series. Josh Hart has been a real playoff contributor for the New York Knicks. Do you have anything else to say about the series before we get out of here?
I do. I want to give two quick shout outs for the Knicks on something, and then one quick tactical adjustment or thing that I think Tom Thibodeau could use a little bit more of as they move forward to try to close out this series. Two quick shout outs. First, Obi Toppin. I thought he was really good today, too, in a way that I didn't expect him to necessarily be. Earned minutes in crunch time down the stretch above a guy like Julius Randle for extending his minutes in the fourth quarter. I thought that's a really nice thing for Tom Thibodeau to be able to do and recognize, kind of ride the hot hand. And the biggest reason I think he has the ability to do that, because Leon Rose is the other guy I'm going to shout out here, has done an unbelievable job of building depth on this roster. I think from like 5 to 14 or 5 to 15, this Knicks team is my absolute favorite in the NBA. They are filled with depth. They are filled with guys who compete on the defensive end of the floor and buy into what Tibbs is really getting them to do on that end. And they're all super tough. They all bring different things to the table where a great coach like Tibbs can press the buttons that he needs to in a series. And one button I'd like to see him press maybe a little bit more. We talked about how the Knicks have been hunting to try to get those Garland or Mitchell switches for Jalen Brunson. There was one play late in the game where Josh Hart went to set a high ball screen and ended up slipping it to the nail hole because they know whoever's guarding Hart is going to hard hedge and come out of that so that they're not going to end up switched onto Brunson. Brunson did a nice job pocket pass to Hart, and he threw a beautiful read on the short roll that ended up in a skip pass 3. If the Knicks can find ways to use Hart as that playmaker near the nail hole, keep Mitchell Robinson in the dunker's spot, and then have the other two players stationed on the three-point line, I think they can get a lot of mileage out of abusing the Cavaliers for not wanting to switch Jalen Brunson ball screens.
Yeah, I think those are all really good points, Adam. And I think that the Knicks, again, like have real upside in this series beyond what they have shown. In the Cavs, it's hard. It is genuinely hard when you don't have wing depth. I think that's what this series is showing. And I think that's what Kobe Altman and company will try and go out and acquire this coming offseason. And look, this team is nowhere near what its completed form is going to be. I'm not worried about the Cavs long term. You make a deal for Donovan Mitchell because you go out and you get a star in Donovan Mitchell, not because you felt like this team was a completed product. You just felt like that is the guy that you want to build around, along with Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. Now, I do think that what this series is showing is there could be some diminishing returns in the playoffs pairing Jared Allen with Evan Mobley. And I do wonder if once they feel like Evan Mobley is capable of playing the 5 more often, Jared Allen is the guy that makes sense to move. Do they decide to do that maybe a little bit earlier in their process than what we've seen, than what we expected, given how good Jarrett has been for Cleveland? I'd rather move earlier than later on centers in general. And I think Jarrett's stock is still exceedingly high league wide, especially given the contract he's on. I'm not necessarily advocating a move for it. I just also think that they probably need to start looking into a few different things.
Yep.
Just exploring at the very least. If someone presents
Yep.
a real offer that gives you real wing depth, and you feel like you can replace Allen with a center on the market relatively cheaply, I'm not sure that that's a terrible idea, given I still have questions long term about the fit of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen in the playoffs, is
Yep.
not opposed to the regular season.
Yep. Got to maximize the time you have Donovan Mitchell. I think this series is showing that offensively, Mobley is just not ready to make a consistent impact in a winning way. Still a terrific defender, and his value shows up on that end of the floor. But whether it's the fit of him, Allen, and the other non-shooters, or it's just Mobley not necessarily being a guy that you have to defend outside of 15 feet, there have been some challenges for Cleveland on that end.